Let's hit record. Check your levels. Give me just talking to the mic.
No peeking, no peeking, no peeking.
Okay, so here's how I wanted to open the show. I don't know if this is gonna make any sense, but I wanted to.
Wait, you're tricking me. You always open the show with, I don't think the show's opening. Like it's opening right now.
It is opening right now.
God damn it.
But I wanted to start off with we've tracked the podcast, and the podcast is coming from inside the house. Is that?
Run for your life.
This should have been something I feel like we would have covered like in the first week of the show, because it seems like one of those horror topics that come up within horror fans whenever they're discussing the genre itself. So do you want to go ahead and tell them what we asked our fans and what we'll be talking about this episode?
Sure. So the question we asked was, name a great non-supernatural horror movie villain.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we asked it was that I saw a lot of chatter on our Facebook page recently about how people found non-supernatural horror movies less interesting, because there's this upswell in things like The Exorcist on Fox and like all kinds of stuff happening where people are focused on like sort of a spiritual, supernatural attack, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, let's go real. Let's break it down. And we threw out to the fans and said, name, your favorite non-supernatural horror villain. And then we decided we would clean up after you guys had your say and name our own. And you named every villain known to man. So you made our job super hard. Thanks.
Yeah. Right? Well, they hit all the classics. So like,
they totally did.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yep, totally. I have it right here. So they led off. Jorge Castillo said American Psycho guy, right? And then we got Jansen said Leatherface and Family. Patrick Bateman, right? Jenny said Jaws. And Rachel said Beatrice Dalian Inside from 2007, which is a great answer. Kelly said Jack the Ripper. Boris said Ghostface. Richard Wise said Anthony Hopkins. And then Catherine Rose got the most likes of anyone by saying
Donald Trump.
No.
I knew someone posted that and I got a lot
They
of
did.
likes. Oh, is it the truck from Duel?
No. Who got the most likes? Most non-supernatural villain who got the most hits from any comment. Catherine said it, and it's...
The lady from Misery.
Yes, absolutely. Annie Wilkes. She blew up our page. We got Cujo, we got Hannibal Lecter, we got Mrs. Voorhees, we got Buffalo Bill, we got Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jekyll. The Psycho from Hush, Donald Trump, Otis from Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, that's a good one. Leslie
Vernon, and then Chris Marzak, who is a super smart follower of ours, destroyed my list by saying Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. So thanks for taking out my number 3. Jigsaw. Go ahead. No, I know. Jigsaw.
No, it's a good answer. It's just, I was just thinking of the I guess you call it a short, the guy put together, the Rise of the Boogeyman.
Yes.
When Jigsaw keeps trying to say, I want to play a game.
And getting shorter.
Yeah, I want to play it. And then like
the TV blows up.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was good.
Eric and Plaxton simul-posted Mick from Wolf Creek.
Yeah. Right? I saw his
which
image.
is sort of cool. And then Erica Eli played cleanup by naming Patrick Stewart in the green room. So we got tons of great answers. And sorry, Noah said Kevin Spacey from 7. So it left us with almost nothing. Yeah. Right? But I'm super stoked. I don't know what you're going to say. Right, but it 5 didn't. I know you
and an honorary.
Okay, all right. I can't wait to hear what you're... All right, so lead off. You're number 5. So this isn't top ever. This is just like the best that wasn't named here. And you...
Well, I tried to... I subconsciously list it in my head of best. I only have one up here that I will crown as number one. The rest are just on a list of 5.
Okay.
Or a list of 4 because one will be.
But you got one you're going to throw down for.
I got one that I'm going to throw down for because it's completely unexpected.
And no one said it.
No, of course not. Okay. No, you're not even going to know the show. So I'm going to kick off scary real people.
Yes.
The first one I'm going to name is the child, but in the film you think Chillins from Goodnight Mommy.
Right.
So, in the film, it makes it look like there's a boy and his twin or his brother or something like that. And the mom comes back and she's all weird doing all this crazy shit. And
Spoiler alert. Right.
It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
But so she's doing all this bad shit to the kids, and the kids are starting to come back thinking like, oh my God, that's not my mom. It's not my mom. And then it turns out at the end, it is the mom. Just the kid is I think his brother died and he's like visioning him. Right. So the kid's just fucking psycho, but like he's at the end of the film, like they really like the mom's done for, but it's just like she goes through so much shit. And so I think creepy kids in general or kids in general are creepy.
Totally.
But this kid, the film wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but I like what it did. And the kid was creepy enough for me to like, if I didn't like the film and this kid popped up in my head,
right.
He did a good job at creeping me the fuck out.
Well, like almost all creepy kids, like Damien, Children of the Damned, like Chucky, like sort of a kid, like they're all supernatural, right? Like there's no like not supernatural threatening horror kid that jumps out at you except for this, right? Because the plot twists were so radical that almost felt supernatural. You're like trying to play catch up the whole time during the movie.
Well, yeah,
right?
and the fact that like all of that stuff's going on in his head.
Totally.
Like remembering his brother and stuff.
Right.
Like I think he's creepier than like because the Children from the Corn, those were just those like,
right.
Those
That's
were,
supernatural. Sixth Sense is supernatural. Like it's like even if the character itself is not supernatural, like the movie framework is supernatural. Goodnight Mommy was literally something could happen if you had like some kind of psychotic episode, right? So,
yeah, and the kid and the way that like they just end up. Well, when you realize what's happening and what they're doing to the mother, you're just like, Jesus Christ, like my God. Right. So, and normally it's the creep. There's like a creepy kid and something happens to them, and then they're either saved or something happens to them. Sure. And I just like the fact that, I mean, I don't like what happened to the mom, but the fact that the kid like sort of like lived at the end and like he's gonna probably continue being a creepy kid.
Yeah, that movie actually gave me this really weird callback feeling to the first few minutes of the original Halloween, like that creepy Michael Myers like stabby. Like, I mean, the kids just had their own agenda and that was it, right? Like it was.
Yeah, the kid, he was trying to be just like a normal boy, and then the mom kept doing like being stricter and weirder, and like they totally thought because she wears that mask because she had some sort of something happened or whatever. But it does a good job at you feeling bad for the kid, and then at the end being like, oh fuck this dude, like that's horrible. And then I sometimes most of the times like it when the horror film ends on like a shitty note. It just makes you feel like shit. Sometimes not saying I like to feel like shit, but. It's just kind of like a fuck you ending that I like when they like they're tough about it, and the fact that kid really like fuck shit up. So
yeah, they didn't jump scare the ending like Freddy versus Jason where he winks at you like whatever. They did it real. Like it was a bad ending, but it was a bad ending with a purpose. Like that was how it was going to go.
They stuck to it. It's not like they tried to cheeseball it at the end.
Actually, on my list I have something so similar. Like so.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were gonna have Goodnight Mom. I don't know. That was the weird one. I think because sometimes when we do these lists, we don't let each other know. So it's sort of like wedding vows. But like I have one on here that like I just don't. It's almost sort of like a game of poker. Like I don't know if you have it on your list.
I know. I have a backup in case.
I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah, we're right. That's fine. You go. Let's go down. So, All right. So the curveball to start. Okay. So one of the things that jumped out at me when we threw this question out was people were like Jaws, Cujo, like
animals.
Right. Like, so, but the thing that is interesting there is that almost all of those animals, and we've covered this on the podcast before, are sort of doing their own thing. Like the shark's doing what it does, right? And like Cujo he has rabies, so like you have no options when you're sick from like whatever, right? So the thing I really like about this movie that zero people have seen, but I think is magnificent, is that, you know, there's a concept that we talked about a character, the one who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like in Cabin in the Woods, like the gas station attendant, or, you know, like the one that warns the characters, like, don't go here, right? Mm-hmm. So this movie has that person, and that person in this movie is Meatloaf. And his I know what's going to happen to you speech is epic. Like, it's so amazing. And no one's seen this movie, right? So the movie's called Burning Bright.
I'm starting a safari ranch. I need a scary animal. That's what the tourists pay to see.
This cat, he's not scary. He's evil.
Here's the synopsis of this movie. A thriller centered on a young woman and her autistic son who are trapped in a house with a ravenous tiger during a hurricane.
What?
Right? Terrible. It's got to be terrible, right?
That sounds awesome.
It's not terrible. This movie is amazing. I recommend
Where's the hurricane?
everybody.
Where where is it?
I think it's in Florida. Like, but they batten down the hatches, and then she has she's protecting her brother, and her mom married this guy who turns out to be a douchebag, and he locks them in a house, boarding it up, telling them he's protecting them from the hurricane, and he slips a dangerous tiger into the house.
Like on purpose?
He needs them dead because he gets the insurance, right? So you've got a mom with an autistic son, a sister with an autistic brother in a boarded up house, and the worst person in this movie is not the tiger, it's like the guy, right? But so all the other, like the creature movies, like Creature of the Black Lagoon, like even like Cloverfield, like you have some kind of sympathy. King Kong, for God's sakes, you have sympathy for like whatever. But when the tiger shows up in this movie in the beginning, the Meatloaf introduces the tiger like this. He goes, the guy who's buying the tiger goes, "No, I'm going to give you less money." He doesn't seem that scary. And Meatloaf's like, "Let me tell you, he's actually scared. You know why? This tiger is evil. He likes to kill things just for fun." Right? So like the movie's just like, let's get this out of the way.
And then he also said, and it's also a tiger.
Right, it's also a tiger. But he's like, let's just get this out of the way right now. This tiger has no good purposes, right? Like, so they end up trapped in this thing. And so I wanted a reason for everything I picked for this topic. And the reason I picked this was, first of all, it was an animal villain that the movie was brave enough to just call out and be like, you know what, he's actually evil. He actually has bad purposes. But even more importantly, there's a scene in this movie where the sister is hiding in a steel laundry chute in the house. The tiger is beneath it. Her cell phone's on the ground, and he's pacing back and forth trying to figure out where she went. And she's pinned up in the laundry chute with her hands and feet against the sides. And the tiger's pacing back and forth trying to figure out what's happening. And she's sweating, and a drop of sweat falls on the ground in front of the phone. And the tiger walks up to it and licks it and leaves to think about it. And when she relaxes, like, he looks up in the laundry chute like, ha ha,
God.
I knew you were there the whole time. And he tries to claw her out of it. And she's trying to like slide her way up against her own sweat while it's trying to like claw her down.
That's like the kitchen
terrifying.
Scene. It's like the Jurassic Park scene, but like amplified.
Totally.
To me, amplified.
Totally, absolutely, right? Just for that scene alone, like this.
When did this movie come out?
2012.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty reasonable.
For some reason, when you first said the movie, I imagined like 80s or 90s and like everything was bad.
No, it's amazing. And the reveal at the end that I'm not going to spoil of why the tiger is evil is so good.
Is it because of Meatloaf?
No, he never comes back. They couldn't afford him for more than like 60 seconds. And
Jesus.
he's Meatloaf.
Yeah,
right? So this is a low budget movie, right? But it was amazing, and it was a clear cut case of an animal villain with bad intentions, which you almost never get in horror, right? Like Jaws, like 5 or whatever was like, animal villain, like whatever. But like 4 people saw that. Well, 4 people saw this too, but this is way
and
better.
Meatloaf.
Totally. So
He's like,
Burning Bright.
Do I get
5?
a copy of this when we're done?
No, he's still waiting.
He's still waiting for it.
All right, go.
Okay, so how many do I have here? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the big one. Let me just write this down here. Okay, so I've watched this movie. I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. I've watched it. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember I loved the trailer more than the film.
Okay.
I think. And I'm gonna go with the 3 people in You're Next.
Why would anybody do this? They've been watching us for days.
Oh my God, that was like so on my list.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I had to drop them off right at the end, but oh my God.
Well, I
for sure.
I know I watched the movie like last year when it was on Netflix.
Right.
But I've always the home invasion thing.
Yes.
For some reason, like it's either 100% one way or the other with me. So like I'll watch it and I'll be completely fucking terrified. Like The Strangers. I think The Strangers did it well. This film, I don't think was as good as The Strangers. I know it had mixed reviews. I think
you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna say next.
I know what you're gonna say next. You're gonna say I'm not gonna say it, but I know it because what I just said. I don't think it's as good as The Strangers, but I really love the trailer for it, and I think the trailer is almost a better movie.
Yeah, totally, I agree.
Because they did that song "It's Such a Perfect Day" to people getting slaughtered, and I just I love that. And I like the animal mask thing. Once that film came out, I saw everyone wearing those for Halloween.
Totally.
So I mean, it must have had some sort of
impact,
influence. Right. But I couldn't even tell you like what great kills I liked from the movie was. I just know the idea of it really freaked me the fuck because they were all eating dinner.
It was exhilarating, right? Like it was. It
felt almost sort of like an action-y type film,
right?
Too. And I remember they had like a kick-ass woman in it who. Oh, I remember. Spoilers. They ended up being like part of the family, and it was like some sort of it was some sort of like monetary reason. I think they were killing them. A lot of insurance deaths in his list.
Yes,
that's okay. So I do remember most of that. I really liked how they started going after the people during the dinner scene. Because I remember they used a crossbow, and like they got the one guy like in the head at the dinner table, and I thought that was pretty gnarly.
Right, but the problem with The Strangers is that it's super depressing, but for I think bad reasons. Mm-hmm. And You're Next was exhilarating. It's even in the title, you're next.
I love that.
Right, like it's literally telling you, like I'm coming for you. Like this is like
it was. I think actually the more we talk about it, I think the more I like it because I remember seeing the trailer and be like, that trailer rocks, but then being like, well, the movie's gonna suck. But then it came out to like I think you could say people.
Horror fans get so revved up and excited. Like the horror community blew up when it was revealed like The Woods was actually Blair Witch, right? Like horror fans are just primed. They're all waiting.
Came out.
Right. Everyone's waiting to be like whatever. And then you have a movie comes out with this relatively boring title, You're Next.
And bomb ass trailer.
Right. But a great trailer and you're like, oh, can it be as good as it promises? And then it's better and you're like,
yeah, I mean the more I think about it, the more I do enjoy it. I need to rewatch it again. It was during like a Halloween like marathon where like I had it up on another monitor and I was like, oh, I like that. Oh, that was pretty cool.
All right, well, let me see your home invasion with another home invasion. You ready? My number 4 is the movie Them.
In the still of the night, we hear things. The movie movie that terrified Europe is coming to America.
which is a French movie from 2006. Here's the synopsis. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Lucas and Clementine live peacefully in their isolated country house, but one night they wake up to a strange noise. They're not alone, and a group of assailants begin to terrorize them throughout the night.
Wait. So it's two people in a cabin. Did you say it was a honeymoon?
And they're getting terrorized by a group of people who are masked in the middle of the night. So
wait. Is that supposed to sound like another movie? Because it doesn't ring a bell.
okay, so this is the movie.
I'm just kidding.
Them.
I'm just kidding.
This is the movie Them from 2006, as opposed to the movie The Strangers from 2008, because The Strangers is a straight up remake of this movie, right? So,
Yeah.
But the reason that I'm putting this movie down in my list is there's a scene at the end where I'm looking for reasons why non-supernatural killers might be scary in horror movies beyond what the fans said, right? So they took away Hannibal Lecter and Norman Bates and like whatever. So what they left was something like this movie where these kids are doing horrific, torturous killings, and there's an amazing scene that still unnerves me when I watch it, where there's a woman who's trapped in her house and she's trying to peer through like a keyhole to see if the kids are, or whoever's attacking her is close by. And they're just waiting for her to do that because as soon as she puts her eye to the keyhole, they stick a needle through it. Right? But they don't get her. But you hear this little laughing on the other side because they're trying to kill, but they're also sort of playing, right?
Yeah.
So like the way this movie ends, and I want this sound in this podcast because it's so chilling. So if we can find it, we'll put it in there. But the kids are doing like this. They have a wooden toy that kind of rattles while they run around. And it's the last scene is after they've killed all the good people in this movie. The next day the sun comes up and they walk out of the killing area of the woods and they walk down a path and then a school bus shows up and they pull up their hoods and they walk down the path and they get on the bus because they're starting their day. Because the killers are just like, you could literally be next to them on the way somewhere. Like you can't detect them. The only time they show themselves is when it's too late for you, right?
Yeah.
So I find it super creepy when you're dealing with killers who kind of blend in, right? So, and the beginning of this movie, the first like 6 minutes is like a masterclass in terror. Like it's a mom and her daughter, they're in a car, the car breaks down in the middle of a road. The mom gets out of the car, she pulls up the hood, she's doing stuff to the engine and she's shouting to her daughter, turn the key, try this, press the gas. And then she stops talking. And that's when you realize that the camera is shooting it from the daughter in the car's point of view. And you realize you can't see the mom because the hood's up, blocking the view. And she's probably dead now, but you don't know that happened because the hood's in the way, right? So it's like this one mechanical breakdown in your life. And next thing you know, someone super important to you is just gone, wiped away, and you don't know what happened because like something is blocking your view, right? And it's super creepy.
Damn. You know what I thought you were gonna say? I thought you were gonna say the same shot, but reverse. So it's like the back of the mom with the hood up. She's talking to her daughter. The daughter starts talking. She closes the hood. You see three
you
people
could
in
do
the
it
car
either
with her.
way. Totally. Absolutely. Right. Right. Absolutely. That's
Damn, that'd be
great
a cool
filmmaking.
shot.
You can do it either way. But the sounds in this movie are like when the daughter gets out of her car looking for her mom and she keeps shouting to her mom, like she keeps saying, mom over and over in French. She doesn't know where she went. She doesn't understand. But like the next time something is wrong is someone over where you can't see steps on a twig or a branch and the branch like, and you're like, oh shit. Like a horror movie that works in sound, that impresses me, right? So,
Damn.
all right. What's your...
All right, so I've mentioned this guy on the show before. It's definitely not a horror film. It's actually the show my God, there's a show Outlander.
Yes.
He's not on your list, is he?
No.
Black Jack Randall.
Nope.
So Black Jack Randall is on the list. So I've watched a good amount of Outlander. Alex really, really, really loved it. And I thought it was pretty entertaining. I kept falling asleep. But the one thing I always woke up for or wanted to watch was the scenes with Black Jack Randall. So he is I forget. I think it's like what war is going on. So it's like all like the Scottish dudes are fighting the Brits. So whatever.
Like a Braveheart situation?
Sort of. I think it was sort of like, I don't know, during the Revolution. I don't know. Because they go to France at some point in time. Doesn't matter. It's written by the guy who did Battlestar Galactica. People really like it. But he is so fucking ruthless in this movie. And like even his mannerisms, like he has like, he always does this like sniff thing when he's being slimy. It's sort of like how like the Joker had like little things he would do. Sure. Same sort of deal, and he's almost sort of like the Joker because you don't know what the hell he's gonna do to you. And he's just, I mean, he's a masochist, so he like loves. That's where you like to like deal with the pain, right? Like you love he's almost sort of like
he wants to be hurt.
No, he wants to hurt other people.
So he's a sadist.
So he's a sadist. Okay, right. He's a sadist. I'm gonna edit that out. He's almost sort of like if a Cenobite was in the British Army.
That's fucked up. That is terrifying.
That's how I would describe it. Just inflicting a ton of pain.
That's fucked up.
So like one thing he's all about the like the power.
Right.
All about the mind game. So
right.
I think you heard about like how I think the latest season ends, or I forget where it happens, but he ends up like just like I think he ends up like sodomizing like the main character guy. So he's just like he's like I'm in control. It just completely fucking like breaks down the character in that moment. He ends up like the dude's fucking tough, so he ends up being like, oh, next time I see him, I'll fuck him up, and he sees him in like France and all that other shit. But the fact that he's just like because like the British Army is just very like, oh, we're so posh and all this other shit, and they have like that fucker like doing that kind of shit to you. I think is just horrifying.
Yeah, totally.
And but the big thing with Black Jack Randall is the woman who's traveled back in time. That guy is like her husband's great grandfather. Because it's like this, it's the same actor,
right?
So like when you see him, you're like, you're such a horrible cocksucker. But like the guy in the present day, I think is like an okay dude, right? So fighting for the British Army. So I don't know. I had to put him on the list just because I know it's well, I mean it's not horror, but it's a horrifying dude. You don't want to be on his bad side.
No, right. And his purposes are just to break people down, which is a horrible mission to have.
It's a horrible mission. Unless your goal is to win a war, then
right. Well, right.
I don't agree with it.
Politics brings out the worst of people.
Yeah, it does.
We've seen that.
Yeah,
recently.
At least now they would. Yeah.
Right.
Nothing good about it. So, anyways, Black Jack Randall.
So my number 3 is I'm going to keep it really brief because it's kind of based on like 90 seconds of cinema, right? So, Sleepaway Camp.
How can it be? God, she's a boy.
Is right. So Angela, aka Peter, is like one of the most underrated serial killer slasher villains of all time, right? But the thing that really like made me want to put this on the list for scariest not supernatural is, Jason just doesn't seem to work that hard for me. Like he kind of doesn't run fast, doesn't really care about chasing people. He just shows up in the right place.
He's the guy who walks slow so he can get more hours on his time card.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden you're in a sleeping bag and he hits you against a tree or he chops your head off or like whatever. It just sort of works out for him, right?
Yeah.
Angela in Sleepaway Camp, she puts in some work, man. Like she tries to kill one guy and she has to run him up a flagpole. So she hooks, or a girl, she hooks her belt and she does the rope. And then there's like 4 minutes of her like doing a rope, like pulling her up in the air until she drops her, right? Like she's really, really working hard. You watch her in this movie. She's like, I mean, she must have like got some muscle mass like during this situation, right? So, but the reason that this movie's on here is the ending reveal is one of the few things from that era that to this day you could just randomly broadcast into someone's house and it would terrify them. Like that final reveal and her frozen face and that like low growl.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember is the growl.
Oh my God.
Because as you were talking about, I was trying to
never
remember. I
forget
was
it.
like, she had some like
Exactly. And her face barely moves, but her eyes sort of move. And like, it's
why is she frozen again?
I think the idea is that
Because at that point she's surrounded, right?
well,
By
right.
people?
Sorry, he. Right, I know.
Oh, yeah,
and the
yeah.
sexual politics of the movie are. I'm going to put them aside because that's not like.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as big a deal as people think it is. But like, from a killer's point of view, Angela's been sort of like in charge of every situation you see in this movie. And at the end, she gets caught in a situation where she's not in charge and she sort of freezes, right? She's like, I don't know what to do in this situation. Like, I'm in control all the time. And now you came up at exactly the wrong moment and caught me in exactly the wrong moment. And her response to that is, I don't know what to do with this. So I'm not going to move, but I'm going to growl. I'm going to warn you that I'm dangerous. And it's like the creepiest fucking scary ending shot. Like that, you could freeze frame that shot, put it in a painting, put it in a museum. And when people were going through the museum, they'd be like, holy shit, that's freaky.
Yeah.
Right? That's like,
I have to rewatch the ending now because I've watched
it's
it.
terrifying.
Because I know I've looked it up just for the ending because it's always on like horror lists. It's like most shocking endings. Like Sleepaway Camp's
Right.
usually like
For sure.
lower on the list. I just remember like the growl for some reason. The first thing I was trying to think of like, did she make a fucking noise?
Totally.
I'm gonna rewatch it after we.
But that's the thing is like the you know, it's hard to find something when you're trying to do like supernatural is easy, right? Like so Freddy in Nightmare on Elm Street originals, you know, sucks the mom through the impossibly small window of the door at the end, right? But you don't have to think about it. It's just an easy jump scare because like of course Freddy could do that because he can do whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
But here's a person who beheaded someone. You don't know how she did it. And then she's freeze framed and her face is frozen and she's growling, but she's not moving, but she's making sound. And never at any point watching that do you think that's a supernatural thing. It's not a demon. It's not like whatever. It's just fucked up.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Number 3.
and now I need
All
to
right.
rewatch it. All right. So my number. This is 4. This is number 4. So this is another film. I feel I'm so weird about this list because a lot of it is films that I don't remember. I know I watched it with some buddies of mine, and I've mentioned it on the show before because a jump scare and it stuck with me. But since it stuck with me, it obviously did something well. So I was like, it must. I mean, if it terrified me that long, so I put in the characters. I believe they went their names in the film is Mommy and Daddy from. I'm going to see if you have it on your list. People Under the Stairs.
No, I don't.
Gotcha.
But I could have, right?
All right, I thought you were going to have People Under the Stairs. That was the one.
I think we're clear. I don't think we're.
Yeah, because I know you're not going to have the last one, and then
Yep.
I have my 2 honorable mentions on here.
But tell me why. Why?
So one, they're just like crazy zealot people
Yes.
who just kill.
Yes.
Enough said. And in fact, I was rewatching the scenes today because I remember I watched it I think I remember watching it with some friends and like sort of like dozing off and like watching it and be like, what the fuck's going on? So I was rewatching some of the scenes today, and I think the Scream Factory, the people who redo movies, they re-released it for Blu-ray, and they had some the actors talking, and they had the woman who played the mom, and she's like the sweetest person in the world, and she's talking about how they're doing this scene where they try to make their daughter, I believe, like take a bath, and they put her in like that steaming hot thing. She's like scrubbing her with this thing. She's like screaming bloody murder, and she was saying Wes was just like we'll just go crazy and I'll cut. So then she was telling the lady who was playing the daughter, like, hey, I'll take this brush, and if I hold up your dress, I can scrub it against the porcelain of the bathtub, and it'll make it look like I'm scrubbing it against your leg. And so I can do that. And she was like, I started saying Bible verses that I didn't even know I had, like, because during the take they were just both screaming and yelling these Bible things. Nuts, right? And the scene itself is just like, even when she's talking about the behind the scenes and water's getting everywhere, and they were screaming so loud, Wes Craven had like all like cut like 3 or 4 times. He's like, cut. Right. Like, even watching the scene while they're doing all that, you're still like, Jesus fucking Christ. Right. Like, what? Like, because then you see all those documentaries about like crazy religious parents, and like, I don't know, you could sort of just imagine that shit
for sure
really, really happening. And also just how weird the dad was. I remember there's the scene where the kids are in the wall, which is a scene I don't think you guys can watch because old Rufus gets it by the dad stabbing the thing. But like, he kills me up because like he screams something to the boy, but he like sings it. Yeah. And there's something I liked about the parents and how like fucked up they were, but at the same time it was still like pretty terrifying. Like the actual stairs when what was his name, Fool was running up the stairs, and he like pulls that thing, and they go from stairs to a ramp, and he slides down. Like, the fact that they invented that sounds kind of like some, it sounds like the people you hear in those stories where like they kidnap people and keep them in their basement for years. It sounded like something like those people would do.
And that's why I'm so glad you put that on the list, because there was something transgressive about Wes Craven that other people can't recapture. Like, Wes Craven was breaking 2 rules at the same time, right? So he knew how to tell a story and like what was right and wrong in society. And then he was like, I don't give a fuck when he was shooting it. And you look at something like Don't Breathe, which is, scary and interesting and fun, like whatever, but super calculated, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew watching it that there was no moment when they were filming it they got out of their own control. And then you have a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or People Under the Stairs, where when they were filming it, the situation was close to getting out of hand, if not out of hand, right?
Yeah.
Because they were actually breaking actual rules. And you could feel it. It's more real, right?
Yeah.
Which I find super terrifying. Like,
and just more entertaining.
Yes.
I feel like.
Right. And sticks with you longer. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to remember that, longer. You're talking about it now.
Yeah, and it stuck with me, especially when Fool's in the basement, and I forget who it is. Like, he's leaving like camera right, and then like this body like jumps on his back. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was I need to go back and rewatch all these movies.
No, it's an amazing movie. It's really.
But maybe that's what the purpose of this list was for me. Is like, what do I remember? Oh yeah, I should probably watch it now.
That was terrifying. All right, well, my number 2 is also super transgressive film, and I'm going to go with Videodrome.
Get the Videodrome! Long live the new flesh!
Gotcha.
So, Videodrome is probably the greatest horror movie I've ever seen, that if you thought back on it, you thought maybe that was supernatural and it shouldn't be on this list, but it's actually not, because the entire premise behind this movie is scientific. There's nothing supernatural in it, but there's so much fucked up, weirdo, hallucinatory shit that happens in it that it feels like something that shouldn't be natural, but but it is, right? So the thing that, so I can't, I mean, I'd rather be the chief campaign chairman for Hillary Clinton 2020 than try to do a synopsis for this movie. So no point in trying to sum this movie up, but what puts it on the list to me is that even the most ridiculously insane scenes in this movie are also strangely realistic. The things that people remember from the movie, of the guy sticking the gun in his stomach, or the VCR tape in his stomach, or his hand filling up with flesh and getting attached to the gun, or like whatever. Like it was filmed in a way where it was almost like you wanted to shake it off, because you were like, wow, that's how that would actually look if that happened. Like, it's disgusting, right? And it kept telling you things like, long live the new flesh, and it was signaling to you, these are not, it's not Pinhead. It's not made up jargon. You have to, what's a Cenobite, right? Like, where's Camp Crystal Lake? Like, I've never heard of that. Or like, whatever. Like, you know what flesh is. You know what guns are.
Yeah.
You know what video does, right? This movie stripped down and was like, I'm going to fuck with you, but I'm going to do it in a way where I'm only going to use words that are really basic vocabulary and concepts that are really basic vocabulary, so you can't pretend that this couldn't happen or it's not real. And it's so sick.
I've seen a lot of like clips from that movie that are disgusting. So
right, totally. But that's the thing, is like the reason I wanted this on the list is because everyone who named everything on a list was all basically naming villains that had a list of victims, right? Jack the Ripper killed 5 prostitutes or 6, I can't remember. Jaws killed like whoever, like Pinhead kills whoever. Jason's killed like 180 people, right? Like whatever. The scariest killer in Videodrome is the corporation that sends out a fucked up signal without letting anyone know, that gives them brain tumors and kills them. And they only get one person. Only one. James Woods, who is mentally disturbed in real life. So he plays it really well. But like, I wanted one entity on the list that didn't get to kill a lot of people because they didn't get to execute their plan. So they only get to kill one person in this movie, but the way they want to do it is so fucked up. Like even if, like Jason comes for you, like, you're going to have a good time. You're going to be in the camp. You're going to do some cheers. You're going to have some sex. And then someone's going to show up in your house and behead you. Like, and that sucks.
Hopefully quick and easy.
Right. Well, that sucks, but it's right. Well, it's always quick, not always easy, but like, you don't suffer for months. Like, it's
true.
Right. It's like a matter of seconds or minutes, right? In Videodrome, here's their assassination plot. We're going to pretend that nothing bad's happening to you. Then we're going to send you a signal that gives you a brain tumor. Then you're going to hallucinate. Then we're going to manipulate you. Then we're going to make you kill your friends. And then we're going to kill you. That's bad.
That is bad.
It's a bad process.
That is bad.
Right? So they only get to do it to one person in this movie, but it's still terrifying. Right? So I'm putting them on the list for...
All right, number one.
All right.
I know you've never seen this one because it's not horror, but it is horror. So there's a show on the IFC called Documentary Now.
Yes, of course.
Have you seen it?
I've seen Documentary Now.
Which episodes have you seen? Did you see Sandy Passages?
No.
It's the very first episode of season 1.
No.
Really?
No, I've subscribed to it. I'm not sure I've ever watched anything all the way through. Okay, go ahead.
So the first episode is called Sandy Passages. And so the whole premise of the documentary now is they parody famous documentaries
Yes.
with Fred Armistead. I never remember his last name. And then Bill Hader, who I love Bill Hader.
Yes.
So the first episode is called Sandy Passages, and they're parodying the documentary, which I've never seen, called Grey Gardens.
Yes. Great documentary.
And so from what I know,
Jenny's favorite documentary ever besides Grizzly Man, by the way,
Grey Gardens
is number 2 for her.
Well, it sounds boring. I've never seen it.
No, it's amazing.
But it's basically two socialites
Yes.
who are aging, and they're just kind of crazy. So,
It's also a Broadway musical.
wow. They stretched their dollar with,
They totally did.
Grey Gardens. But so imagine like two aging women, but with like the improv of two like Saturday Night Live, veterans. Like it's really it's
God.
really dumb.
That is fucked up.
Like Bill Hader he puts like
Are they
pants.
dressed up? Like
Yeah. Like they go the whole 9. You have to watch it. They go the whole 9 yards.
my
He
God.
puts like pants on his head, and he goes, "It's really great because it keeps my head warm, and then it also doubles as a scarf." He
right. I
said-
can see that.
he does dumb shit. And the banter between them is hilarious. But what they do differently than Grey Gardens, I almost don't want to spoil it for you,
No, go ahead. It's fine.
for the fans.
We have to.
Yeah, we have to. That's why it's on the list.
Right.
So the film ends because like there's a film crew, a documentary crew in there filming these ladies.
Sure.
And they start to get like really weird. The ladies do. They get weirder and weirder and weirder. Almost think like The Visit, but with these.
Yeah, that's
people.
what actually happens in the actual Grey Gardens. They're actually that weird. Okay.
So they start getting that weird, and they start seeing like cutouts of like people and all this weird shit on the walls and all this other shit. And Bill, what you find out is that I forget if it's Bill Hader's character. He ends up like murdering the film crew.
oh, fuck.
But the way it's recorded, and I wrote it down in the notes, is that it reminds me of the movie REC, R-E-C, the
Sure,
Spanish
sure.
film. It almost ends like that just because it's like the film crew. And it's fucking like, it's kind of funny because like the whole thing leading up to it, but it's also like kind of terrifying the way they shot it. Like it feels,
No, it's super terrifying.
like it feels like a legit.
Because those documentary filmmakers, they're called the Maisel brothers. They're legendary. They've done all kinds of like famous shit, and I think they both are dead now. But like one of them recently passed away, and they're like legends in the field. And everyone was sad that they were gone. And when they're filming Grey Gardens, you were thinking to yourself, I think they did the movie Gimme Shelter, the Rolling Stones documentary. But
Gotcha.
when they're filming Grey Gardens, you were like, you should probably back up. Like, there's weirdos here. Like,
Were those ladies that weird?
You're in danger. Like, they're kind of weird. But then nothing happens. Like, they just go on and have like great lives and live to be 80-year-old documentary. But like, not this version. This version.
No, this version ends like
it's
REC. Like it's really.
It's terrible.
It's really
I
funny.
want to see this.
It's really good. I check out the episode and the whole series in general. So documentary now,
All right.
which you wouldn't expect that to be on the
No. That's a great
on the list.
No, that's
So that made it.
I love out of the blue answers, and that's like a bit like
I had to save it for number one.
Grey Gardens people are super creepy.
Well,
Like,
imagine if they take it,
To the
they
REC,
take that 9 to a 10.
All right, well, I'm gonna do the same creepy something that no one's ever seen before thing, except for a few. So there's a movie called The Witchfinder General. It was released in America under the title Conquer a Worm.
Man's inhumanity to man portrayed on the screen so vividly that you flinch, so real that you too will fear the Witchfinder General.
Banned everywhere. And it's based on a real person named Matthew Hopkins, and this real person basically went from town to town, and cities paid for his services to identify witches in the town, and then he would torture them, and then they would confess they were witches, and then he would execute them and then go to the next town. And this was a real thing that made you real money in
Damn.
1600s England, right? So picture like Salem witch trials, but like magnified, right? And the reason this is on the list is that this is the single greatest acting performance by the legendary Vincent Price in movie history. So like, inarguably, he's done amazing stuff. He did great stuff in the Edgar Allan Poe cycle, and he did amazing work in Abominable Dr. Phibes and like whatever. But in this movie, he literally kind of channels what this guy would have been like, right? Like he's brave when he thinks he can get away with being brave. He's a coward when he thinks he can get away with being a coward. But he basically just plays every situation the way a golfer plays, like the ball where it lies, right? And he almost always wins until the end, right? But he doesn't care what happens to people. He's just using them. And Vincent Price, for all of his greatness as an actor, like he is kind of known for chewing the scenery, overacting.
Yeah.
But not in this one. Like in this one, he's super calm and he's really matter of fact. And he basically just, tells in the scene, like kind of like a Shakespeare character would. He looks almost at the camera as like, I'm going to, destroy this person's life. And then I'm going to stab this person with a bunch of needles. And then I'm going to set this house on fire. And I'm going to kill their children. And then, I'm going to go to the next town because there's more money to be made. And it's horrifying.
Damn.
And he does it perfectly, right? So this movie is really, really chilling. But
why was it banned? Was it banned just?
It was banned because there was a lot of grotesque torture scenes, and the ending was really, really controversial. And the director, a guy named Matthew Reeves, did not get along with Vincent Price, so they didn't really mobilize behind the movie and defend it. Like Vincent Price kind of walked away from it as soon as he left, and then he admitted years later that it was one of his best performances, if not his best performance. But he didn't want to admit it at the time because he was fighting with the director nonstop. Gotcha. So the director, he committed suicide when he was 25 years old.
Damn.
And he had done some horror masterpieces. And there's a great book called Cult Horror Movies. I can't remember the author right now. I think it's Danny Peary. I'll put it in the show notes. But he said that if you had to pick one director in the history of cinema, and he didn't say horror cinema. He said if you had to pick one director in the history of all cinema who had the angriest, most depressing view of humanity, you'd pick this guy. Like, this guy was not fucking around.
Well, it sounds like he was.
He was really over.
He didn't have much hope.
He was over, right. He had no boundaries, right? So he directed a super dark, super honest movie based on true story. And, that's the thing is, like, you get this true story thing in horror all the time. Like The Conjuring, true story, like Ouija, true story, whatever. But like this was actually kind of just like a reenactment of what happened. But the thing that this horror movie does that almost no other horror movie I've ever seen does is that it says to you as it starts, based on a true story, we're going to show you what happened. And it was probably worse.
Damn.
But we're going to show you what we can.
Jesus.
Right? So when it's over, in your head, you're like kind of re-filming the scenes that you didn't get to see, like where it got worse. And you're like, this movie is even more horrifying than what I actually just saw.
What year did it come out? It was like 60s?
Yeah, 60s for sure. Right. So, an amazing movie, but most importantly, in the horror community, everyone talks about like Bela Lugosi and like whatever, but they talk about Vincent Price too, but his performances like aren't really quantified or ranked. It's just like Vincent Price. He did so many movies, like it's hard to like, but this is his best performance, and it's based on a real person.
Those are our 5,
but
without my voice being weird.
We have honorable mentions.
So I have 3 honorable mentions. I actually need to finish reading the Graveyard Book. I started reading it for Halloween just because I was like, oh, Neil Gaiman, Halloween time, and for some reason I didn't get very far because I was like reading it, and then like I think like a AMC marathon came on. I was like, oh, that. But I really love the man Jack. One, that name's cool, and I love how he wrote how he just kind of like went through the house like a mist or a shadow and just sliced.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just the opening, and I was like, oh my god, I hope this kid lives. Daisy, no. Daisy, get off of there. You can't bite that. We're doing a show. So the man Jack made an honorable mention just because he was real. Like,
yes.
He was like just a killer who was just really good at what he did.
Yes.
So that's one of my honorable mentions. Should we just knock out each other? Just go through the list?
Yeah, I only have 2. So
okay. So then I put in the inbred people from The Hills Have Eyes.
yes, I thought of them. I really wanted them on there, but
They're creepy.
yeah,
They're
totally,
creepy.
absolutely.
And then as you were talking about torturing people with them, I put down Hostel.
Yeah,
Just because it's just
totally.
average Joe's paying a lot of money to.
Yeah, and that's not just creepy people. It's like a creepy geography. Like that's
Yeah.
a whole place that's bad.
Yeah, they do
Right, in
bad
that movie,
things, and
right.
they pay to do bad things. So those are a few of my honorable mentions.
So my honorable mentions are. I only have 2. I I have 3.
Daisy has an honorable mention, biting the cords. Daisy the cat, everyone. Oh no.
Daisy the cat. So honorable mention number 2 is Ex Machina.
Oh yeah.
So this isn't supernatural. It's also something that doesn't exist currently, but I found the softness of it super creepy, right? So like the way that she stabs her creator at the end really bothers me. It's sort of like sticking a butter knife in like a tub of butter, like to put
Like a
something
hot
on your-
knife.
right? Like, but with no force. It's just like, right? What's your sound?
Yeah.
Right, but it was right.
I remember that feeling weird watching
right?
it.
Yeah, it was not right. The way it was done was not right. Like it was like super inhuman and really, really creepy, right? But then she leaves and she locks the other guy in to presumably die of starvation or
Yeah.
suicide or whatever's going to happen there. And doesn't even give him a second look, even though he's been, paying attention to her the whole time. And that's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's still super cold, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I found that as a non-supernatural killer thing, I found that particularly chilling because, Jason is in Friday the 13th movies. He's not only is he trying to kill you, but he's putting some thought into it, like presumably, right? Like
Yeah.
if it like there's a reason he wants to stick your head in frozen nitrogen or beat you against a tree in a sleeping
Yeah.
bag, like right. But like she doesn't particularly care how the last person she kills dies. She just kind of walks away, and that's
That ending bothered me
scarier, right?
so much.
Right, to me, like that's
I would even when you just say it, I'm still thinking of like, yeah, there's got to be a way for him to get out, like
right,
somehow,
right,
somehow. I like to think he made it out.
right. And the only reason that wasn't on my list is it's actually not a horror movie. There's no way to make it a horror movie, but it's still super creepy. And then my number 1 is something we talked about before and something I know bothers you, which is David Fincher's Zodiac, because
Yeah,
right, like it's also not a horror movie per se, like, but that lake scene is so horrifying. It's like just this sunlight bright, like nothing should go wrong here situation, and you have people who don't think anything could possibly go wrong until it does, right? Which hashtag America 2016 seems
yeah,
to
that
be
scene still. I can't do it.
Right.
Well, it's funny. If I adding one more, I was just reading about a Masters of Horror episode that was banned from being aired. It's the guy who did Ichi the Killer.
Yeah,
That guy.
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that guy, man. I got to be completely fucking honest with you.
Brutal.
Like, there was a point in time in high school where I could watch, like, torture scenes in horror films, and I'd be like, that's funny. It's just a bunch of VFX. But, like, I'm getting to the point now where, like, I watch it, and, like, I don't know. I think it's just the way I view movies now. Like, I really, like, I focus in on it. Like, Alex says when I watch a movie, I have, like, a stare to it. Like, I'm, like, 100% into it. So, like, I think I empathize more. But that cat, I really don't think I like this guy. Just the scene. I don't know. But he did a Masters of Horror episode where this like Western guy goes to like Japan or someplace like that, and he sees this like prostitute lady. I think they fall in love. And then the headmaster at this prostitute place, this lady thinks that she's a witch or she stole. I think she thinks she stole something from her. I tried finding clips of it on YouTube, and I found a few because Masters of Horror used to be on Netflix, but it's not anymore. But it's like there's like a 15-minute torture scene, but it's like real fucked up. Like it's not like Hostel and other stuff like is fine,
Right.
but like they're taking like pins and like putting it under her nails.
Yep.
And like sticking pins in her
Gums,
in her gums and hanging her upside down, and it's just like but that lady could make the list.
No, and that was like honestly, that was one of the things that I was thinking about the list but didn't put it on was Bone Tomahawk, right? Because
yeah. I saw that scene. I know the one you're talking about, the scalping scene.
Yep.
Jesus.
Right, exactly. But the reason that I didn't put that stuff on the list honestly was just because there's a horror context. Like I started this with Burning Bright, the Tiger movie, right? So like that movie is a horror genre movie. Like it's doing credit to the horror genre because it's taking like horror tropes and situations you recognize from horror movies and kind of like turning them around or doing interesting things or like whatever. But like Bone Tomahawk is basically dipping its toe into the pool of the horror audience by giving one scene that you can grab onto as a horror fan, but then the rest of it is not, right? So I feel like you kind of that's like you drove by too fast. Like I don't know what your license plate says.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're gone, right? Like you went through and that was interesting, but like so you don't get on this list. It's still an amazing movie, but like it doesn't belong here, right? So
yeah,
and that was one of the really interesting talks you and I had about the Alien Queen from the Alien series, right?
Yeah.
Not supernatural, brutal killer, right? Like that she should be like one of the big non-supernatural killer like icons like on the list or whatever, but the situation is too weird. Like I don't live in a spaceship.
yeah.
Like I don't
like
know
we're not doubting like
Right.
there very well could be a
Right.
queen alien in outer space, but like
what does that look like? How does that like like a thing like whatever? But when a tiger is hunting like a mom trying to protect her kid down and she's hiding in a laundry chute and she's slipping down the sides of it because she's sweating. Like,
you can relate.
I get that.
Yeah, we have two cats. I know that feeling. I know the feeling.
Right. When the alien queen's looking at someone and like, here, let me show you the teeth I have hidden inside my teeth, that I hide inside my jaw, that I have hiding inside my teeth. I'm like,
nope.
No, that's amazing, but it's a different kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah. So because we had a conversation when we were figuring out, we were talking about The Walking Dead, and if that counted, and that spawned a whole.
That's a whole nother thing.
That spawned a whole nother.
That right.
Conversation. We'll have to do an episode about.
Yeah, that's because
about how we come up with
that's
topics.
That's a whole nother thing. Like that's a super.
Because Negan was going to be. We mentioned him.
Nick. Right. I understand. Like he has no supernatural power, but it's a supernatural scenario, right?
Which is why we've invalidated Queen Alien.
Yes, exactly. The scenario is too strange, right? Like
yeah.
It's not like
so it's too. too big of a thing to talk about.
It's too big of a thing.
So we can't even touch it.
But that sort of sucks because like Ex Machina does not exist. Like I don't know what AI is.
That's where the can of worms starts. That's where it starts. We have the can opener on the can, and every time we talk about it, we're just twisting it a little bit more. We're so close.
That's fine. We
just got to end it.
The next list, coming up. But I would love to hear what we already got a lot of great feedback on the Facebook page about non-supernatural horror villains, but I would love to hear what listeners say about our picks and also what they would have put in as non-supernatural horror villains. And also we put a lot of work into this. It takes a lot of hours in a week, so we would love if you would support us on Patreon. Our link's on the Facebook page, and
it's got a pretty bitchin' video too.
Who
did that? Some professional editor. God damn.
Someone who's got a really good eye.
I bet he was sitting there looking all handsome editing that video together and felt real good about it.
I bet that's true.
In fact, that video, that's one to share. Yes. I would say, I'm just guessing.
Yep.
I'm just guessing. If you're, I don't want to say this about our fans. This is just between you and me and everyone who listens. So it goes to the fans. But I'm acting like it's just between you and me. If you're a real big fan of horror, you share that video. I'm just saying, it's really fucking good.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's really good. There's some other horror sites who try to do videos, and I'm like, Lord have mercy.
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
No, that's a good one.
All right. Well, that's Hollow Weekly. Go on the Facebook page, join the community, support us on Patreon. Until next time, do something scary. Shit can't get any worse.
Bye. Guys.